This is just neat.
It's officially spooky season, meaning we can all start the hard prep for the official best holiday of the year. Don't at me or try to tell me it's Christmas.
Fuck Christmas. Fuck it.
It might be fun for the Yanks to learn that Halloween has historically never been that big a deal in Ireland or the UK, which is especially ironic because Irish immigrants introduced it to America in the first place. My family actually never celebrated it that much, aside from the odd token apple bobbing here and there, and I myself never started hanging up decorations until about 2016 or so. In the UK, it was actually bonfire night on the 5th of November that was a bigger deal, so when I lived there, that was the thing to look forward to. I think I only went trick-or-treating twice in my whole childhood. The only reason Halloween ever started to really become noteworthy in Ireland was because we'd conveniently have half-term holidays around the end of October, meaning it was a holiday we just happened to be off school for. But we can thank the 90s for many things, and one of them is in making Halloween start to catch on over here.
I love Halloween.
And can we, in fact, thank television? I know we can for me, anyway. Halloween episodes are a fun tradition from the days of network TV when everything had to air on a specific date. So any show airing in the autumn would get at least one episode featuring the cast in costumes, usually revolving around a Halloween party, and if it was already supernatural themed, something extra spooky for the occasion.
Here's a story that's really scarifying.
We of course have to mention The Simpsons and their annual Treehouse of Horror episodes, featuring 3 non-canonical shorts involving horror, fantasy and sci-fi themed stories, and I think 3 is my favourite of the bunch.
Dad, you killed the zombie Flanders!
You was a zombie?
But when it came to turning Halloween into my absolute favourite holiday, we can thank a certain lady with a steak.
What did Mrs. Davis give you? She must be stopped.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, naturally as a show that started as a parody of B-movies, featured its fair share of Halloween episodes. It seems to be a thing that each even-numbered season, 2, 4, and 6, had a Halloween episode, while the odd-numbered seasons except 1 had a Christmas one.
Check this out.
Season 4's fear itself revolved around a fake haunted house accidentally becoming real thanks to a boo-boo in the decorating department. And Season 6's All the Way was mainly about teenage delinquency on the holiday to less fun effect.
What do you want me to do? Just sit back and keep my mouth shut? Well, that'd be a good start.
Season 2's, just titled Halloween, is by far the best, and probably the quintessential Halloween episode. As Punky Night approaches Sunnydale, Buffy begins to insecure about her relationship with Angel. Although they've progressed to arranging dates, she can't be on time because of unscheduled slayage and seems to think the vampire with a soul may turn his heart yonder.
She's not his type.
Seriously, if you've watched the entire Buffyverse, spoilers, this episode becomes hilarious for the amount of times it hammers in that Angel would never be interested in Cordelia.
You're never gonna get between those two.
I can't remember if I've made it clear before, but I am a total Angel Cordelia shipper, so yeah, maybe Buffy was onto something after all.
But who am I kidding? Dates are things normal girls have.
But back to the actual plot.
Miss Summers, just the juvenile delinquent I've been looking for.
The wizard was actually not vanquished when Phoebe fireballed him and just forced to become a high school principal, which we can all agree is likely the far worse fate. And he punishes any young people showing emotion by making them take the neighborhood kids trick-or-treating. This means some last-minute costume shopping at a pop-up shop run by a kindly English-accented gentleman called Ethan, but twist? He's evil, and praise to the Roman god Janus, who was more like a god of order rather than chaos, but we won't talk about that, for a curse to turn everyone who bought their costumes from him into what their costumes actually are. So the precious little darlings who dressed up as monsters become actual ones. I mean, as awful as the episode presents this as, anyone who's had to deal with sugar-crazed children will note that there isn't much difference. But this does have bad consequences for the protagonists, since Xander turns into a soldier, even when he only bought a toy gun from Ethan.
Lydia, I suggest you find cover.
Poor Willow dressed up as a ghost, meaning she has to die to become one, and the first evil retroactively becomes a dummy for not taking advantage of this.
No, wait!
Buffy gets the worst of it, as she dresses up as an 18th century proper lady and, well...
A demon! It's not a demon, it's a car. What does it want?
The demons, who in this universe traditionally take Halloween off, find out that the Slayer is actually a distressed damsel for the night and seek to take advantage.
Look at you. Shaking.
Before we get into the meaty stuff, I want to address something that made me change my heart towards Buffy. And I don't mean the show.
You're sweet. A terrible liar, but sweet.
I always felt Willow was my favourite character, especially as we moved into the later seasons, but this episode reminded me of how much love our lead character deserves. My favourite Sarah Michelle Gellar performance may be I Know What You Did Last Summer, but it is impossible to not love Buffy in these early seasons.
Do you know what you just did?
Saved $1?
She is at her absolute best being perky and bubbly, and this is exemplified by this scene in the library, which I have loved ever since my first watch.
Buffy. Excellent.
Nothing. Hi.
Willow and Buffy need to sneak past Giles to get the Watcher's diaries from the library, so Buffy has to distract him in what turns into a vintage vaudeville comedy skit.
You can't keep me in the dark any longer. Look at me when I talk to you.
This is fantastic.
I really don't have time for these
Miss
games.
Keller said you were a babe.
She said what?
I'm nowhere near an expert on comic timing or staging, but this whole scene is just...
You know how disgusting it is for me to even contemplate you grown-ups having smoochies, but I think you should go for it.
Sarah Michelle Gellar got heavily typecast in horror and action, but this and Scooby-Doo shows that comedy is really her strength.
So, what do you think of that?
It is very hard to be in a scene with Alison Hannigan and come across as the funnier one, but bravo, Sarah.
My God. Shame. Shame. I gotta go.
People want a charmed crossover for the fights. I'd want one just to have these two in a comedy off. But in terms of Buffy's actual characterization, we see this exploring the old be yourself moral that 90s and 2000s shows loved preaching at us.
Not exactly the stuff dreams are made of.
Although she's the Slayer, granted with incredible powers and destined to save the world from evil, she can't help comparing herself to the local princess who just seems naturally better at being a girl.
Oh, Buffy. Angel would never fall for her act.
You mean that actually showing up wearing a stunning outfit embracing personal hygiene act?
Even though in Out of Mind, Out of Sight she learned about Cordelia's own struggles and how her life is far from perfect too, she, like the rest of us, can't help wishing she was just a little different in the hopes that it would make Angel like her, not realizing that he fell in love with her, Buffy, not Cordelia. Well, not yet, but he will, on both counts. And thanks to the rule of drama, she not only gets what she wishes for, but in a situation where a Slayer is needed much more, giving her an appreciation of what she contributes to the world by the end, since it is said that she remembers everything from when she was cursed.
You guys remember what happened?
It was way creepy.
I remember at the time finding it a little annoying that her costume self is extremely stereotypical, with dialogue like this greatly misunderstanding the roles women actually did play in society back in the day.
I'm just meant to look pretty and then someone nice will marry me.
But I can just about justify it.
Well, it's not our place to fight. Surely some men will protect us.
Buffy's dress isn't exactly period accurate. It's a Halloween costume, and just the theme park version of an 18th century gown. So it makes sense that Buffy's persona wouldn't be an accurate representation of a noble woman from the 1700s.
You must have some kind of amnesia.
I don't know what that is, but I'm certain I don't have it. I bathe quite often.
And it's especially timely, considering the Buffy character was created as a subversion of the helpless blonde victim in a horror movie. And this season was filmed around the same time she starred as two straight examples of that in Scream 2 and I Know What You Did Last Summer, meaning this is like meta within meta. Or is it just regular typecasting?
This is some other girl.
Anyway, dual character development is the order of the episode, because when Willow isn't being a reluctant paper poacher, she's back to being her usual shy self, and you just want to hug her and reassure her that it does get better after high school. Kind of.
Don't underestimate yourself. You got it in you.
Willow is hoping to explore her sexuality a little more, since she's known for childish clothes her mother picked out for her, or fuzzy sweaters that are cute but don't necessarily scream sexy the way she wants to be seen. At a costume party in Inca Mummy Girl, she had dressed as an Eskimo and lamented that...
Maybe I should have worn something sexy.
But thankfully, Oz already validated her choice by noticing her while she was modest. So this is less about changing yourself to please someone else, and more about exploring new things.
Wow. You're a dish. I mean, really.
This happens to guys too. I didn't get comfortable even owning sleeveless clothes until I was about 20, and even now I still get anxious showing off my arms. Willow also gets cold feet and dons the modest ghost costume over the planned sexy one, but of course is forced out of her comfort zone when she turns into a real ghost and has no choice but to go around in public in the skimpier outfit. Being dead probably means she doesn't have to worry too much about the cold.
Your costume?
I'm a ghost.
Yes. The ghost of what exactly?
And since both Buffy and Xander don't remember who they are, Willow is the one who has to take charge, again forcing her out of her comfort zone as the Brainiac sidekick, and starting her on the road to becoming Buffy's most powerful ally.
No guns, that's an order!
If Willow is your favourite character, then this is a very fun episode.
She's not Buffy.
Who's Buffy?
Oh, this is fun.
It also continues a running gag started in Inca Mummy Girl of Oz noticing her from afar and wondering who she is, before finally meeting in the two-parter What's My Line. Fun fact, I watched the first couple of seasons on and off, and the third was the one where I became a full-time viewer, so when I went back to catch up, already knowing that Willow and Oz would become a couple, I found it very cute to see that this was how they built to it.
That girl. Where's she? I think she's from South America. No, not her.
Oh, and Oz's line here greatly influenced my speech patterns.
Mister, I'm the lead singer. I'm so great. I don't have to show up for my date or even call. Gonna be there?
Yeah, he's just going by Devin now.
And say it ain't so, this is one episode where Xander is not insufferable.
Tears will normally get you the double bagger. You can also try the old you miss me routine, but it's risky. Only go there for chocolate. Understood?
Getting turned into a no-nonsense, no-empathy soldier somehow is an upgrade.
She's from the past.
And you're a ghost.
Yes.
Just want you to know that I'm taking a lot on faith here.
He was feeling insecure when Larry, pre-coming out, nearly beat him up in school, and Buffy saving him just made him look weak, meaning that the curse ironically grants him something of an unintentional wish to be a tougher and more competent character for the evening. And since him and Cordelia would eventually become a couple this season, you can see them starting to build to it, with how he gives her his jacket and gets younger me to start wishing I could one day make girls react to my arms that way. As he retains his memories of being a soldier, he actually gains a whole lot of military knowledge that proves useful in later episodes, which is awfully convenient, but sure, we do have to give him something to do, and the majority of his outfit is authentic, so there is a plausibility in there somewhere.
I got fatigues from an army surplus at home.
And considering I'm now someone who adores Halloween and is heavily typecast as soldiers in my acting career, this episode is like super foreshadowing for my whole life.
And now I guess you're a real soldier.
This is also the first appearance of Giles' nemesis, Ethan Rayne, who would appear 3 more times to enact plots that are just non-lethal enough to merely make him a troll rather than outright evil.
Tell me how to stop the spell.
Say pretty, please.
Being honest, I don't rewatch his episodes enough to have much of an opinion on the character, and I don't have a lot of interest in Giles' past as Ripper, but he facilitates one of my favourite Halloween episodes, so that's a win.
Showtime.
We also have to acknowledge who has now debuted in Sunnydale only a couple of episodes ago and killed the Anointed One to become the new big bad. Sort of. This season's villains are kinda like Destiny's Child at the start of this video. Spike doesn't get to do too much because we're only 6 episodes into a season with 22, but he proves himself to be a rebel by taking advantage of Ethan's curse to try and kill the Slayer, given advanced knowledge thanks to Drusilla's visions.
Someone's come to change it all.
Drusilla is another one of my favourite characters, and Juliet Landau's performance was very formative for me, and I lament how she kind of just vanished from the universe after Buffy Season 5. Despite being present for the best arc Angel ever did,
I'm ringing all over.
At least we have the memories, and lines like this.
Do you love my insides? The parts you can't see?
Eyeballs to entrails, my sweet.
That's about all we've got time for here, analysing the inaugural Halloween episode in the Buffyverse.
Who died and made her the boss?
The first 2 seasons of the show are starting to get their flowers after years of the average mantra being stick it out until the episode Innocence, because that's when shit gets super dark, and of course dark and angsty equals more highbrow. I actually have a friend whose favourite season is actually the first, because of the fun and goofiness. And even if 3 is my top pick, I can definitely understand that reasoning.
You were checking at my neck, I saw that. No, I wasn't. Just keep your distance, pal.
I'd rank 1 and 2 above 4 and 5 anyway.
By the way, I like your dress.
Impressionable young me, watching this on a DVD box set on Halloween 10 years after it first aired, finally found himself intrigued by the concept of this holiday, and was ready to embrace it in full, as you can see by these costume attempts over the years. I've yet to have as fun a Halloween as depicted in this trip to Sunnydale, but so far my life, and indeed the month, is still young.
Who's that girl?